especially when you spend some time in our building like you have, you know what we do and you know
Oh
what
yeah.
those kids are capable of. So they're letting the kids do real work. We're not just sending kids out to sweep floors and be the cleanup crew.
Yeah.
In fact, we tell them that's not how it's going to go down. You must have
Nice.
been part of that cohort early on. I remember very early on when our business partners, mostly commercial, would say we can't hire people under 18. Our
Yes.
insurance policies won't allow it.
Yes.
And somebody stood up, maybe it was you, and said, check with your insurance company, because as a trainer, an accredited trainer, I guess,
Uh-huh.
accredited training facility, because of DOL and
Yep.
NCCR and all those things, check with your insurance policy and you'll find that you'll be covered at 16. And that's true. And suddenly we had people after sophomore year going out
Yes.
and getting internships that summer.
What's going on, L&M family? Jesse here. You just got a little taste of Miss Krista Ackles, who has been in the construction industry, started off as a construction manager, and has evolved her way into serving as the program coordinator at Construction Careers Academy, which is an outstanding program in San Antonio, Texas. So that's like a really interesting path, right? She started off in construction management. She went to school for finance. And now she's an educator, administrator. The road that she went through is pretty darn interesting. There was a point of panic where she was very courageous and just would not take no for an answer. And right after she got what she wanted, she said, oh my goodness, what did I just do? And she pretty much lays out the program that they've put in place over at CCA in helping fill this labor shortage that we're all dealing with. And they're putting out amazing students. She's got some great wins. Check out the Instagram account. You'll find that in the links, the NISD, CCA, something like that. Hit them up. You'll see all kinds of beautiful stories of the students that went through the program that are now out there working and earning a living in our space, in the construction space. So this was a special interview for me, not just because Krista's amazing, but also because of the work that she's been committed to and the lives that have been impacted as a result of that amazing program. Of course, I got to remind you, we do have a Patreon account. Want to send a shout out to all our patrons that are supporting us. You may notice the quality of the video and the quality of the audio has gone up significantly. And because of the contributions from our patrons, we've been able to tap into some resources to improve the quality, maintain zero commercials, except for me, of course, and outsource some of this stuff so we can do some other fancy stuff like the live streaming that Jennifer Lacey and I are doing on 5S and relationships. So shout out to our supporters. And for those interested in getting that L&M backstage pass, there are some pretty significant nuggets of wisdom that our guests have been sharing that are accessible through patreon.com/learnings and missteps. And here we go, baby! Here we are with Miss Krista Ackles, program coordinator / project manager, who does like some magical rock star stuff at Construction Careers Academy here in San Antonio. How's it going, Miss Krista?
It's fantastic, Jesse. Happy to be here with you.
Awesome. So how deflating was it when you saw the calendar invite that we would be recording Saturday at 8 a.m.?
Well, because of 9/11, I guess it was more deflating.
Oh
But
my God.
I'm up and going. Yes, thanks to all the people who served for sure on this day. But no, I'm up. Good reason to get my day going and get my coffee on. So it's all good.
Yes, the coffee, always the
I'm waking
coffee.
up with Jesse this morning.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, we've had some fun over the years, and now with the podcast, I was like, man, we got to get Krista on here. And I dropped it yesterday when you and I were kind of doing during the prep call, but I'm also part of a member of the Skilled Trades Alliance. And Adam Hoots, who's the main host, we started a podcast with that group. And he was asking on our last recording, he's like, man, who else are we going to bring? I said, we got to bring Krista.
Fantastic. I'll do it.
Beautiful. So I committed you without asking, but you're
Okay,
always
good.
awesome.
No,
So
I'm happy to do it with you, Jesse.
fantastic. All right, Krista. So question, question number one.
Yes.
What do you want the L&M family out there, or just the community, country, world at large, what do you want them to know about you?
It's such an open question, Jesse. I don't know where to start, but I think kind of what sums it up for me is I am the product. I was created by an engineer and an artist.
Okay.
My dad's an engineer, my mom's an artist, and I'm a pretty good combination of those two things. And then everything kind of blooms away from there. One's very black and white, and one's very colorful. And
Ah,
so that kind of sets the stage for all of it. Um, so I mean, if you're talking about background, I pretty much have grown up in San Antonio. I live in the house that I grew up in. I bought it from my parents. I love it here. And went to school at UTSA. I was an economics major.
oh,
So
I didn't
yeah,
know that.
who would know, right?
Okay.
And I've been in education for 13 years now. And I dare say I've never heard one of my students say, when I go to college, I want to major in economics.
Not once, huh?
Not once. But so anyway, that's kind of I got into construction. That kind of goes to the next question, so I'll save that. But man, I got the coolest job in the world. So
So what is that? What is that cool job? Because I agree, I'm a little jealous of your job and super happy that we connected the way we did. But what is that rock star job that you do?
so Construction Careers Academy is a public magnet school. We're not a charter school. We're part of the Northside system. And Northside has committed to magnet schools. And back in 2009, they opened the Construction Magnet School. And I came in, I was in the field. I was a construction manager for 13 years. And then I did some estimating and purchasing for a few years after that. And, but at the time, this was in 2008. And do you remember what happened in 2008?
Was that the HB12 thing?
Well, I mean, the construction just kind of crashed. 2008,
Oh,
2009
yes,
was
that's
kind of
right.
right.
Yes, yes.
Well, I put you on the spot. So, we had a little downturn in the economy, and people, all my buddies around me, everybody was getting laid off. I'd been in construction, like I said, for about 16 years at that point, and I mean, people were just dropping like flies,
Mm,
because construction was going down. So, I thought, well, I'll think about teaching. I mean, I was still working. I was still making good money, but all the bonuses were taken away, right? And
they were
once that
gone.
happened, I thought I could make this much money teaching. And so I started going back for my alternate certification, teaching certification, and good program. And I'm thinking I'm going to go back and teach math and economics, right?
Mm, yeah.
And because I was an economics major and I'm very mathy from the dad's side of my family, dad's side of my brain. So I started doing the program, and right when I was in the middle of that program, lo and behold, I live in the Northside district, and I got a thing in the mail, flyer in the mail, and it was from Northside saying, was celebrating the new opening of our newest magnet school, Construction Careers Academy. And I thought, are you kidding me? I mean,
Wow.
this is a construction school, and here I am going to be a teacher. I'm just coming out of the construction field, and I mean, I got chills. I'm like, how am I going to get in this? How am I going to do it? And I immediately started making calls to the district. I didn't even know who to call or
Yeah.
whatever, but I just started making calls. I'm like, this is my job. I got to get there. And I got my certification and just kind of kept knocking on doors until I got the interview. And man, I got in on the ground floor of the program
Right
at,
out of the gate.
right out of the gate. So I started teaching even before our building was open. And so I was a teacher for, I don't know, 8 years or so, 8 or 9 years. And then I've slowly kind of started moving into administration. And so now like you said, one of our kind of our capstone thing is the tiny homes. That's kind of what we've become known for. but I don't like being known for that so much, because what's more important to me is the curriculum and what we teach the kids. We teach the kids the skills, and that's what we need to be. We need to never lose sight of the curriculum and what we're teaching the kids. The tiny homes are a cool feature. It's very trendy. People like to see them. It brings people into our program, which is great. But more important, we're teaching some kids some really, really great life skills and career skills also.
Yes. So I've been able to hang out there. Y'all have had me over for mock interviews and career
Mm-hmm.
day and different stuff. And it blew my mind because, you know, pre-COVID at least, I got to visit a bunch of local campuses here in San Antonio, Northside Independent School District, SAISD, East Central, Northeast, you know, all
Uh-huh.
around town. Um, and they all kind of have a CTE program, not kind of, they all have a CTE program. But the program that you're at Construction Careers Academy, is a very sophisticated program. Like it's not wood shop.
Right.
So would you mind expanding on all the different tracks and some of the complexity of what y'all are doing?
Yeah, when CCA started, I mean, of course, it was, you know, birthed way before 2009, because they had to get the bond and do all those things. But Northside went all in. They didn't just say we're going to take a wood shop and do cool things with it, or turn it into an electrical program and focus on that. They went all in with their bond issue, and created a whole, a whole building, a large building on top of another comprehensive high school. So like you said, it's more sophisticated than we get school districts all the time coming to us saying we want to do what you do. It's like, man, you need
Yes.
to start big, go big, and
Yes.
Northside really went big. So in that building that they built us, down below on the first floor, we have 4 shops, and those, so we do carpentry, which is also a DOL, a registered DOL apprenticeship program. Our carpentry is. We have construction management, and we have electrical and HVAC, which is also DOL. Kids can work toward their journeyman in electrical. And then we have plumbing, pipe fitting, and welding. So that's also a DOL apprenticeship program. And then upstairs in some of the classrooms and labs, we have a full architecture lab and a full engineering lab. And so those are the 6 areas of study. So our kids, I met with Morton Buildings. I don't know if can I say names?
Yeah,
Can I
of
be a name
course.
dropper?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they hired. It was really exciting. We went to lunch this week, and they hired one of our boys back in
Oh, yeah.
2019, and she was super excited earlier this summer. She said he's the youngest person we've ever promoted to crew chief. And then a couple weeks later, she's like more super excited because they just hired 2 more of our students and
Oh,
put them
man.
all in the same crew. And it's like, this is the youngest crew we've ever had. It's all your students. They're incredible boys. They're very respectful. They're hard workers. They show up on time, and I'm getting chills. It's like, this is exactly what we want. So that's been I feel like sometimes I live vicariously now through the students who've gone through the program, because they are doing amazing, amazing. So that's really cool.
Oh, it is phenomenal. I mean, we got to when I was at TD Industries, we got to get recruit a few of
Yes.
y'all's high school
Yep.
students. I think they were juniors at the time. Was
The junior,
Samantha?
yeah, the juniors will do internships
Right, right.
in summer, right?
Yeah, so Samantha came in on this.
That's
It was
right.
Samantha and Jose Moreno.
He's
Uh,
still there, I think.
he's still there. He
Yeah.
left a little bit, right? He
Okay,
just
that's
was like,
right. That's
eh.
right.
And
Yeah.
then he went back to work
He,
for TD. So he's probably a 3rd-year apprentice at this time, level
yeah.
3, going to his apprenticeship program. Um, I remember interviewing him in the mock interviews,
Okay.
and I'm like, so what are you doing here? What do you see going forward? And he's like, oh, I'm gonna own my own plumbing business. I said, I'm thinking like this guy's a junior, right? He's a little skinny kid. Like, what do you like you and what other plumbing experience do you have? He's like, oh, I just what I learned here at CCA. It's like, you have any family members? Like, nope. And I said, okay, like you seem pretty darn confident. Like, where's that confidence coming from? He's like, well, my mom, she came over here and she's fought and clawed for every inch and
Uh-huh.
built a life for us. And if she can do it, I can do it. So that's what I'm going to do. I was like, I'm not kidding. After that interview, I called Diana, who was our talent acquisition. And so I was like, we got to get this guy.
Uh,
He's one of ours. We got to get him.
That's funny because we set up the mock interviews to we want to teach our kids soft skills. Like I said, it's
Sure.
about getting the kids well rounded and things like that. And very early on, our mock interviews turned into real jobs, and we're like,
Yes.
this was really just supposed to be a mock interview. But the people that were coming in from business interviewing our kids were so impressed they started hiring off of the mock interview.
Yeah. Well, and
That's cool.
for the folks out there to understand the caliber of people that are coming out of CCA, they come out with the OSHA 10 certification.
Yes. Uh-huh.
They come out with, depending on which track they took, but we'll stick to plumbing because I'm
Okay.
biased, right, for
Sure.
plumbing.
Right. Of course you are.
They come out with a fundamental knowledge of the materials, the different types of fittings, the different types of systems, the different types of tools.
Oh gosh, yes.
Like they come out with this skill set that we normally, industry typically has to pay to build.
Right.
And in this
Well,
case, we don't like they already have that.
and then they also we use NCCER curriculum, which
Yep.
means something to some people and doesn't mean anything to other people. And I get that. It doesn't mean much to people in residential because I'd never heard of it before, but commercial
Right.
people seem to know. And so we use the NCCR. So they'll come out with a level 1 plumbing certificate. We also do dual credit with St. Philip's College. So they come out with
Yes.
college credit. And we've had plumbers, walk the stage with a St. Philip's certificate called the Plumber's Helper.
Yeah.
And then anyway, it gets kids about a year into an associate's degree. If they want to continue on with St. Philip's College, they're very close. I mean, and a lot of several of our kids have gone through that program also. So yeah, they have a few credentials like most people would have maybe when they're 25 or so.
Exactly.
That's my
Exactly.
guess. I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah. It takes, it might take a couple years. But so here was the thing, when we started that internship program at TD, people thought people thought I was nuts, which I kind of am, but they were concerned it wasn't going to work. Um,
Because of the age of the kids, kind of?
because of the age of the kids,
Right,
right? Like, well, they're 18 or they weren't even 18. They were
right,
17, 16. We couldn't go younger than 16 because that would
right,
be breaking the law. And it was important for us that they got to operate the tools and actually do the damn work.
right,
So we had to do a lot of research to find out, to like learn that it wasn't an OSHA violation. It was a liability thing that organizations were
right,
not hiring under 18 or interning under 18. So once we worked through all that rigmarole, we made it happen. Um, and at first, people were freaking out. But at the end of the very first summer, there were so many of the superintendents and foremen. They were like, Jess, why didn't I get an intern? And it's like, well, because you were crying and you were scared. Like the most common thing, two things I heard was, I'm not a babysitter,
yeah.
right? And what if they get hurt? What if they cut their
Mm,
finger off? And I'm like, bro,
mhm.
we got 46-year-old people getting hurt. Like
That's right.
injuries do not discriminate. We got to put the systems in place to make sure they're okay and they'll be okay. Um, and but here was the thing, the credentials, they're great, right? That helps open people's minds, employers' minds about it. Um, but what I got to see was we have these 16, 17, 18-year-old students, right? When we did the internship, and then when they graduated and actually came to work for TD back then, the attitude was, and when I say attitude, I don't mean like they've had a very positive attitude. Their attitude about the money they were making was different. And here's why. I think I never, I didn't do any research, but when we're hiring somebody that has been um, out of high school and milling around trying to find a
Mm,
route, they will usually, by that point, they've got some kind of debt, they've got some rent, they've got a vehicle, they've got insurance. Sometimes they got family already, they got
Mhm.
kids. So, the $15 to $20 an hour, it really isn't enough. And of course, our we work in the elements, so that also is not awesome,
Right.
except for maybe like 10 days out of the year in San Antonio. Um, so the students came out and they were making 15 bucks an hour and they loved it. Like
Mhm.
it was a lot of money for them because
Mhm.
they don't have the debt, they don't have the rent. Uh, and so their attitude about what they were being compensated enhanced their focus and commitment to learning. And that just created this dynamic where our journeymen out there were like, I want, like Samantha, man, they were fighting over her by the end of it because we had to rotate, right? They spent a third of their time with the plumber, a third of their time with the sheet metal team, and a third of the time with the
Right.
welders, the fitters and welders. And every time it was time for her to go, they're like, no, 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 I'm going to keep her. Like, no, she's got to go. And then she came back and worked. So that was summer. She reached out and said, "Hey, spring break's coming up. Can I come and do some interning over spring break?" So yeah, it was only a
That's
week, but
awesome.
we'll get you in the. She was in the office and she got to
Right.
experience that side of the business. And then Christmas break, I get another call. Jesse, can I intern over Christmas break? Like, yeah, like
Wow, that's
absolutely.
awesome.
And that's you and I've had this conversation a few times, and I mean, it sounds like it was Morton Homes, right? The
Morton Metal Buildings.
Morton Mill Buildings. Um, if they're hiring your people, I love hearing that because back then when we started this internship thing, what I understood was CCA was graduating students with this knowledge and this energy, and they were not entering industry. Was that how accurate is that?
You, Yeah, a few were. I think more are now. But
Yeah.
and I mean, I think that has something to do just with the evolution of our program and how we recruit, and like again, the evolution of getting the right business partners and like you said, getting internships and things like that. So,
Yes. Yes.
but it's interesting that you say, the kids are, thrilled with the money and I think it's more than that though, because I think that at this point, business partners they know, especially when you spend some time in our building like you have, what we do and you know
Oh
what
yeah.
those kids are capable of. So they're letting the kids do real work. We're not just sending kids out to sweep floors and be the cleanup crew.
No.
In fact, we tell them that's not how it's going to go down. You must have
Nice.
been part of that cohort early on. I remember very early on when our business partners, mostly commercial, would say, we can't hire people under 18. Our
Yes.
insurance policies won't allow it.
Yes.
And somebody stood up, maybe it was you, and said, check with your insurance company because as a, where are we? As the, I can't think of the word. Um, Help me, Jesse. What's that word? As a trainer, an accredited trainer, I guess,
Uh-huh.
accredited training facility, because of DOL and
Yep.
NCCR and all those things. Check with your insurance policy, and you'll find that you'll be covered at 16, and that's true. And suddenly, we had people after sophomore year going out
Yes.
and getting internships that summer, which has been phenomenal because, like you said, it kind of it grows them up quickly. I always love seeing the kids come back after a summer of work. They seem more mature. And the other interesting thing, and maybe it's about that money making piece, a lot of kids, I don't know if it's a cultural thing now, but a lot of kids seem to want to go back to where they were. Like you said, Samantha kept coming back, kept coming
Yep.
back. I'll have kids the next summer say, I'm going back to work with Metro or whatever. And I'm like, no, go somewhere else. Try something else. Try a
Right.
different company. See what the culture's like somewhere else so you can get and they're like, no, I really liked it there. They become very attached,
Yeah.
and I guess they kind of grab onto that if they had a good experience, of course, and kind of had that family, people took care of them, then
Yep.
they want to take care of them as well. So that's been kind of an interesting thing. I didn't realize that kids were going to be that attached, that which is kind of cool. But I
Yeah,
still
no,
encourage you to like go experience a different, because you want to know what it's like to have a great boss versus a crummy boss.
yes,
Learn that now,
yes,
So
yeah, and that's the kind of
no
thing.
amount of money can make up for a crummy boss.
No, you are 100% right. Like, I'd rather be broke. I always the guy said I'd rather work for a hard ass than a dumbass. Like,
uh,
agreed,
for sure.
100%.
That's right. Yeah.
Um, yeah, and that's the thing though. It's a great indicator for those companies that they have an appropriate culture, an appropriate measure of respect for the people if the students want to come back. Um, you and I both have had miserable bosses in our past, and that's not fun. And for
No.
our youth, that you don't have any debt, and like I've had miserable bosses, and I had to go back to work because I had
Right.
to pay my crap. They don't have any debt, and they're opting to go back. And so
Yeah.
that speaks very well for the employers out there. So good job to all of y'all out there that are making that place safe and making these students want to come back. And it triggers this thought in my head where a lot of us, even me, I've said it every now and then, we love to deflect ownership of our cultural problems in the industry by saying millennials don't want to work. What do you think about that?
There, I
Or they're
always,
not even
whenever
millennials anymore, right? There's a whole new batch.
it's some other generation, something, I don't know what they are, but, I always ask for feedback, from our businesses that hired our kids because, there is some of that. And I try to be very careful too of who I strongly recommend for companies to pick up. But, some kids just need to mature also.
Yes.
So, sometimes you got to take the risk and say, I know this one's not really that mature, but we hope they will find that when they get into a real world arena. Um, we have both. We have really hard workers, and then I have had some feedback saying they would not get off their phone. They would
Yes.
not get off their phone, and this particular one did not ask what when they finished a test, did not come and ask what we can do next. And so we try as far as a global, what about millennials not wanting to work. I don't know, but we try to realize we got to bring that back into the curriculum too. We got to teach kids.
Ah, yes.
When you're
Yes.
done with a task, go ask what else you can do. So I don't know. Hopefully, we can have some influence on teaching work skills. I hope
Yep.
that we're able to do that well for our kids. It seems like we've been pretty good, but there are some kids that just, like you said, I think with the Jose example
Yes.
at TDI, I think he was young. I think he thought the grass was greener at SeaWorld,
Yes.
right? Because
Yes. That's what it
he
was.
was he was having a good time with friends, and then realized, it's time to really get my grown up job. And
Yep.
then he came back, and you guys were good enough to bring him back in. And he's all about it now, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, no, that they're young. They are young. But boy, we've got some kids I know won't go back because they're doing incredible, and
Yes.
they're liking it. They're having a good time. So,
Yes.
you have some that maybe don't want to work, but I guess I don't see that as much. We're kind of at a
Right.
different place with our kids, luckily. Thank God. That's why it's such a great place to work.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and I
That
think
helps.
the key point there is you're taking the feedback from industry and building that back into the curriculum. Like, hey, when you finish, go ask for something else.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds super simple, but
One of the
it's
most one
it's
of the
not.
most stunning feedback pieces we got was, I guess there's a thing now where kids don't know how to resign, and or
They
even, I guess,
ghost.
even some adults, and they just ghost you. And that was like the first time I heard of that term. We got
Oh,
ghosted. We kept calling in, and And one kid just stopped coming to work for like a week and then showed up a week later. And they're like, well, where you been?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, and anyway, and we're like, oh, you know what? We've never taught kids how to resign. I don't think we've ever told kids about a 2 week notice.
Right.
We were so
Get
focused
the
on
job,
getting
get the
helping
job.
kids
Yeah.
get jobs. Like, what
Yes,
do you do
yes.
when you want to leave? How do you not burn bridges? So
Mm,
again, it's been kind of that evolution thing, and if you don't burn your bridge, a lot of times you're welcome back. And
exactly.
you can go on and try to sow your oats, and then think, well, that was the wrong decision. And
And
so
that, but
I
that's what it takes.
appreciate businesses that understands the young kids that didn't quite get it. And now they're ready to get it. So that's a good
Yeah.
thing.
Well, in the industry, we don't really have the luxury to be hyper picky about some stuff. Like
Not
we
right
don't,
now.
no, we do not have enough people
I
to do
know.
the work that's currently out there, and there's just more coming. So, the market favors the employee right now in our industry, and I think that's fantastic, because we've got to appreciate those men and women out there in a much more compassionate way. But that's a soft word, and people get a little uncomfortable about it. I ran into Kate Gauze.
Oh, did you?
Yes,
I was
I
just
ran.
thinking about her the other day.
Yes, I
How did
ran
you run
into
into
her
her?
at a AGC mixer.
Really?
Yes,
Why
and I
didn't you
looked
invite
at.
me?
Well, I don't think far enough ahead. Um, and I looked, I said, man, she looks familiar. And then I just kind of dismissed it, right? It's the industry. We all see a bunch of people all the time. And then she's looking at me. She says, "You're Jesse." I was like, "Yeah, I am." And she's like, Do you remember me?" I said, "Man, you look familiar, but I'm not, I can't place it." She says, "CCA. I was in that, I was recruiting her, trying to get her to come to TD in that first
Uh-huh.
cohort of interns. And she's working for Bartlett Cock."
Oh, I was gonna. Okay.
Yep, yep.
Good
She's
to
working.
know.
Yes.
I
And
think she graduated, right?
yes, yes, she's
So
graduated.
A&M, I think A&M
Mhm.
Construction Science.
Yep,
Good.
yep. She was there with her team, the superintendent, project manager. They all spoke very highly of her. I mean, and she's knocking it out. Like there was no doubt that she was going to knock it out. And so seeing that, and she had an internship that summer with somebody else. She didn't pick TD. That didn't make me happy, but that's okay. But one thing I want to make sure that our listeners out there capture, because I know there's so many organizations right now really focused on workforce development across the country in our industry, and everybody's trying to, they're doing their own thing. And so there's 2 points I want to make is you at CCA Construction Careers Academy in San Antonio, Texas, have a phenomenal program, and y'all do not hesitate to share your information with
Right.
other people that want to learn. So reach out to Krista, hit me up. We'll connect. I'll connect everybody so that we can learn, and those new organizations can start where you're at, and not have to learn have the bumps and bruises that y'all did along the way. And to employers, you know, part of what motivated me to go down the internship path was because industry was complaining we can't find enough workers, and we were fighting, I'll say fighting over the same people, just paying a little bit more, 50 cents, a dollar more, and
Uh,
bam, back and forth, and complaining like there's just not enough people, there's not enough people. And then I was involved in advisory councils for CCA in different school districts, the school districts are saying like we're putting out these kids and y'all ain't hiring them. I was like,
uh,
well, what? Like, duh, there's a gap. Let's close this gap. And the what opened it up, what really unlocked the door for us, was being clear on what were the criteria in the students that we were seeking, you're going to be sweating, you're going to be expected to be at work ready to go, not in the parking lot, ready to go at
right.
7 a.m. And you got to be able to tough it out. Like it's not, you're not going to get to pick what you want to do. You're just going to have to do it. Um, the other thing was, and you mentioned it, what really unlocked it was understanding the whole time, my entire career up until that point, my understanding was that it was an OSHA regulation. It was a safety regulation. It was legislated it was legislation that excluded students under the age of 18 to come out on a job site, operate a bandsaw, operate a hammer drill, operate a torch, operate a shovel, except they can't be in a ditch. I mean, there are some constraints.
Uh-huh.
They couldn't be in any trench work. They
Uh-huh.
could not work on the top level of a building. So in construction, typically it would say roof, but in construction, that roof is like a year down the road or 8 months down the road. So we had to adjust the language to say the top level, and they could not operate motorized equipment on wheels, like a vehicle, scissor lift,
Right.
sort of thing.
Right.
Everything else they could do, provided it was an apprenticeable trade. And that was the operative language that when we read that, I said, oh,
Right.
okay, apprenticeable trade. We have an apprenticeship program that we send people to, which is ABC.
Right.
These are apprenticeable trades. And this was pre-DOL, y'all's DOL approval,
Uh-huh.
Department of Labor approval. So now it's completely in sync. And so again, employers, it can be done.
Right.
Apprenticeable trade, and you can go to your insurance carrier
Mm-hmm.
and get a waiver specifically for this group of kids, put a program together, be responsible with it. Merrick Brothers, they have again, they've got a super sophisticated internship program that's blown up. It's in San Antonio, it's in Houston. They've got partnerships with local campuses. Like, it can absolutely be done. It's being done more and more all over the place. But I think for a lot of people, they just really don't know where to start or
Right.
adhere to the common myth that it's just not possible. And I'm here to tell you, these students bring tremendous value. They will bring tremendous value to not only the job site, but to the whole organization. We just got to get past ourselves to get there. Um, Sorry, I get a little preachy about it, but it's a big deal. It's so much
Yeah,
opportunity
I don't
that's being
know.
missed.
I don't know if you know the people at Holt
Mhm.
Caterpillar. They have an incredible apprenticeship program. Unfortunately, it didn't really marry with ours because they're more
Right,
mechanics and
right.
welding and things like that. But man, that guy, he knew the ins and outs. So if you want to learn something, he was amazing. I can't remember his name. I've
I
only
don't
met.
remember his name either, but he
Yeah.
is. So the way that internship thing evolved was Nikki McNish. At the time, she was with SA Works.
Uh,
She and I connected, and we were, workforce development stuff for the city. And she was like, Jesse, you can start an internship. I'm like, yeah, it's against the law and all. She's like, no, 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 no. That means right, because I didn't know. Like, we just
uh,
can't. She said, no, no, no. She said, you need to talk to this guy with Holt.
mhm.
I said, all right. I shot him an email, and boom, he replied. I love what he did. At the time, I didn't, but looking back, I needed it. He's like, come check it out. So I went, looked at the way the students were carrying themselves, like the whole thing. I was like, son of a gun. Okay, okay, yes, this can be done. So what do I need to do? He's like, you need to read the Department of Labor,
Uh-huh.
child labor laws, and the Texas Workforce Commission. He's like, you need to study that,
Right.
understand understand your internal constraints, and connect the dots. And I'm like, well, do you have like a link or a pamphlet? Like, no, no, no. Like,
Checklist.
son of a gun. And so that's what we did, right? I went, got into the
Uh-huh.
DOL website, did some
Uh-huh.
studying. I'm like, okay, that's the language that says we could do this provided these things are met. Texas workforce thing, and started looking at that. Like, okay, all right, okay, and then started looking at our stuff. The funny thing was, I expected the government agencies to be more complex and ambiguous. No, it was our stuff that was more
Wow.
ambiguous than the government agencies. But had he not done that, we would not have been able to draft an appropriate program.
Yeah,
Uh,
what one of the things that stands out to me about his program is I think is on a Saturday. they'll have like an open house for the parents because
Yes.
I mean these kids, even if they're 18, they're still parents worry about them. They're their
Oh
babies, and
yeah.
it seems like so silly. Like we're gonna have these 18-year-old parents, but because still, if parents are in an influence in these kids' lives, they're
Yes.
gonna see it, and if they feel good about it, I thought that was brilliant, even though it seemed a
Yes.
little like wow, it's silly, But I thought wow, I mean that's just one more layer that probably makes them very successful at what they do with that, I
A
just thought that
hundred
was kind of
percent.
cool. So
One
get
hundred
the
percent.
parents on board, and and then the kids will grow into it on their own, but they're young, they're their babies.
Yep. The little babies.
I
I
know, right?
sometimes I'm still my mom's baby.
Even though they're making more money than the parents at that point.
Yes. Yes. Oh man, I love it. Good. So super happy that we can celebrate CCA, the students and all the educators out there that are committed and do it year after year after year. It's a
Yeah, we've got some great teachers, and I mean that might be one of the biggest challenges of having a program like this because I mean, why does a plumber want to come teach, when they could be
mm,
making 3 times the amount out in the field? But
yep.
and we have 2 master plumbers on staff, and I mean, you got to find the ones that have the heart of a teacher,
Yes.
and a lot of our people have side hustles, and
Yes.
they work over the summer, and that's good, because it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's one of the challenges of and how do you get good people? I think a lot of it you have got to be lucky. You got to be lucky because in public education you don't have headhunters to go out and recruit for you.
Mm.
And I mean, what's funny is when people come in and say, yeah, I've always thought about teaching as my retirement job, as if they're going to sit there with their feet on the desk and let the
No.
kids run their class. It's like I always and people still say that. Yeah, I always
Yep.
thought, when I retire I'll go into teaching. It's like, oh man, you don't know how much energy this
You have
takes,
no
you
idea
know
what you're doing. Oh,
anyway.
good. So speaking about retirement, let's take a trip, a time jump. What were your earliest career aspirations?
I'm afraid I can tell you what they weren't, and they weren't in construction.
Yeah.
I don't know where I thought things came from, but I just didn't even, maybe it was, being female. I didn't know that was a thing. I had no idea there was a construction thing. My mom, the artist mom was a teacher. She taught for 59 years. That's 5'9".
Wow.
She started when she was 21. She graduated high school early, so she started teaching when she was 21, and she fully retired when she was 79.
Woo.
And so she was a teacher forever. And I guess I kind of always, you know, knew that was an option.
Right.
At some point I thought like everybody wants to be a I don't know, kinesiologist or whatever. And I thought, well, maybe, physical therapy. I had no idea. Really, I had
Okay.
no idea. No idea. Which leads me to, like I said, whoever says they want to be an economics major, I didn't know going into college I was going to end up being an economics major. So, I mean, I just kind of roll with things and see what they become. So I just heard about when I was at UTSA getting my economics degree. I had a good friend also in economics, and but he worked his way through college at a local lumber store, and and then he went into home building right away.
Mm.
And when he did that, I'm like, that seems like a really cool job. I think I'd like to do that job. So I went out and shadowed him. We both graduated in December of '92 from UTSA, and
Okay.
he had his job with Pulte Homes before he graduated, and I didn't have a job. And as an economics major, I was taking interviews like for financial companies. I remember going down to Broadway and interviewing on the 14th floor and cubicles everywhere, and I'm like, oh hell no, I cannot be in a cubicle on the 14th floor of there's no way. And so, I kept talking to this guy, and he's like, tell me about his job, and it sounded cool. He's out in a job shack and walking his houses and everything. So I went and I had I'll tell you this story, Jesse. I went and I had an interview I got an interview with the same company. This was Pulte Homes, and I went in for the interview, and it went great. And actually, I was in there to interview for the purchasing director position.
Okay.
Kind of fits with economics and finance, right? So I go in there and interview for that job, and I was offered the job on the spot,
Damn.
offered the job, and I turned it down.
Really? Okay. This is
And I told him, I said, I appreciate the offer, but I'd really like. I mean, I'm young. I would play it differently now, but maybe just because I didn't. I said, I'd really like to be a construction manager. I said, it sounds like a lot more fun to me. I think that sounds like a cool job. I'd like to do it. Like, okay, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Have a good day. So I drive home like cussing myself, saying, "Man, and like thinking back, did I really just turn down a flat offer?" And
Yep.
I'm like so bummed. So this was like on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. So the next couple days, and in the meantime, to be honest, I couldn't sit around and do nothing, right? So
Yep.
I picked up a job driving a school bus for Northside
Nice.
because you could that was my first job out of graduating college, only because I didn't want to be desperate, right? I already
Sure.
had my little girl, so she was a couple years old at that time, but I didn't want to be desperate to pick up a financial institution job making 18,000 a year, which is
Mm-hmm.
what they were paying then. So I was driving a school bus thinking, well, it gives me time during the day because you drive in the morning, you drive in the afternoon, and you have the day to kind of search for jobs and everything. So anyway, I'm driving home and thinking, wow, I just blew it. So the next couple days, I'm like, how do I get back to this guy? How do I get? So I kept calling, and the secretary was blocking my calls, would not put me through. He wasn't returning my call. This was before email and texting and all that, right?
Yep. Yep.
And even before pagers, I think. So
I remember those times.
I'm like, how? And I'm like, is there like, can I hire a pony service, to like, take over a letter? I mean, how, mailing was going to be too slow. I had to get something in front of this guy now to tell him, hey, you need to, I want this job. I want this superintendent's job. So all I could think, that there was fax machines though, right? So I handwrite. My dad had a fax machine. I was still living at home because I had my daughter. I handwrite a note saying, don't pass me by. I really want to come back in, for the superintendent's job, right? Stick it in the fax machine. And Monday morning, his secretary calls me and says, come on in for a job interview, right? So I'm like, oh my God, it worked. I got through to this guy. I just knew if I got something in front of him and he had to read it,
Yep.
that's what
Yep.
I had to do. But I mean, he
Yep.
wouldn't take my call. And I'm like, I'm not going to go over there and knock on the door. So anyway, he calls me in. So I go in and, we talk about the construction manager job. And I told him I spent the day with my friend out in the field at, his company. And they already had another female construction manager who had a great reputation. They loved her. She did a great job. So I thought, well, that's positive, right? Because I mean, everybody else is male. And so he says to me finally toward the end of this second chance, he says, "Why do you want to do this job?" And like, well, because it's challenging and good opportunity, kind of some of those stock interview
Right.
questions or answers. And he said, "Do you realize that in this field of construction, there are men who have killed their wives, chopped them up. I'll never forget this, Jesse. There's men who's killed their wives, chopped them up, and flushed them down the toilet. Spent years in prison, and now they're in construction because they can't do anything else." So he said to me, and I'm like, uh, no, I didn't realize, and I didn't know that. You know what I mean? I'm stunned. And anyway, offered me the job, and I took it. So that time, driving on the way home, I am bawling, Jesse. I am bawling my eyes out, scared to death, thinking, what did I just do? I mean, can I handle this job in the field with these crazy people, these crazy men that have just cut up their wives and flushed them down the toilet? I'll
Right.
never forget it. And I came home crying, wondering, and all was well. And it was a great experience in the field. I definitely, one thing that I can take back from that is, we have about 30% girls, 33% girls at our campus. And I don't mean to sound, crazy feminist or something, but it really isn't that hard to compete with the men in the
Agreed.
field. It's just not, and a lot of people have this perception that women have a better eye for detail and attention to
Yeah.
detail. And I don't know if that's true or not. I didn't feel like I did, but, what it comes down to in the field is people want to be treated right. They want the job to be ready when they show up. They want to know that you know what you're doing, and they want to get paid at the end of the day when they've done a good job. And I mean, that's kind of what I figured out. And so, they want to be treated right. And so you do that, and you develop your own reputation, and your own people that want to come work for you and things like that. And there was a couple people who clearly didn't want to work for me.
Yeah.
I was in the field, or we had a dirt guy, and there was two people, me and another male friend of mine, who were in this one subdivision out in Stone Oak, actually. And when he would roll through, we would give him our list. I'd give him my list of things to do that I needed done in the community, and he'd give him his list. And day and a half later, he'd pull out of there clearly not doing any of my work. And after a couple times of realizing this, I was actually the lead construction person in that community. It was really easy with contractors, because you just don't invite them back. You
Right.
follow the next guy who wants to work for you and wants to
Yep.
do your job. And so that was easy. So that was really the only experience I had like that. But it was very, I had a remedy for that.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's how I got into construction, with Pulte Homes, and then I worked for a couple other great builders in San Antonio. And then, like I said, when the market crashed in 2008, it would open my door to teaching, which combined when I was in college, getting my degree in economics. My last semester, I was on the 6.5 year plan, but one of the reasons is I was staying to get certified to teach. So I had all my curriculum and instruction hours. And so that's why it took me an extra semester, because I was going to go and, like I said, teach math and economics. And I went, you do a semester of student teaching. And the semester before that semester, you do 20 observation hours. And I went and did 20 observation hours at a school. I won't call it out. And I sat there during my observation hours and just thought, oh, hell no, I am not going to do this. I am not, no way. And maybe it was the school, maybe it was the teacher I was observing, whatever, but I'm like, nope, not teaching is not for me, right? But it's hard as a coming out of college, and you don't feel very much older than those high schoolers. My daughter's a teacher, and she really wanted to come out and teach in high school, but she still looked like she was 16 years old when she graduated college. So she went to elementary school, and now she's at high school, which is great. But so anyway, that's kind of where the full circle story of construction to teaching. And I mean, I'm teaching at construction school. Are you kidding me?
That's amazing.
So it all worked out,
come together.
It all worked out.
Yes. So you mentioned two things that are really important. One was, this individual that you interviewed with and tackled, like, you made it happen. And that's a huge lesson that people can take and just make things happen, right?
Yeah.
But he scared you, right? He said, people, how many construction people have you met that have chopped up their wives and flushed them down their toilet?
Um, Probably one. There was one very scary man.
Okay.
There was, and I won't get into that story, but there was one.
Okay.
But I wasn't the target. He was kind of creeping around my salesperson, to be honest. Yeah. So just one.
Look, that's not good, but
No.
at least it was only one. But on the inverse of that, how many super amazing people did you meet? One?
All of them.
Yeah.
All of them. And I mean, I don't know. People have a lot to offer, even, and it was fun, I mean, there was a lot of, I learned a lot of Spanish. I began to love Tejano music, because I'd walk into homes and people, the painters especially, were very patient. And I mean, they thought it was kind of fun that I would try to speak Spanish with them. And my buddy who worked in that Stone Oak subdivision would go out at lunch, and they'd be playing poker, and he'd throw down $20. And I mean, we have fun,
Yeah.
but a lot of really good people. I married my concrete guy back in the
Nice.
day.
All right.
And you know, that was a fun 7 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, great people, great people, you know,
Amazing people.
and
Yes.
hard workers,
Yes.
you know.
Yes.
It's because it's brutal out there. It can be brutal.
Yeah. Oh, it's not
So
comfortable. Not at all.
no,
It's
no,
work, baby. It's
it's
work.
work. Yeah.
Now, and you also touched on women in the industry. And I've over the years, I remember back when I got into the trades in 95, and this was my thinking. If I saw a woman on a job site, in my head, automatically she was the secretary.
Mm.
It never even dawned on me that she would be the project executive or the project manager or have any influence or authority out on the project. And since then, I've been able to see a gigantic, well, I say it's gigantic just because of the disparity that I was experienced to, um, but a huge shift in terms of women entering the industry from the trades all the way to executive leadership. Um, and you mentioned that 33% of your students are ladies. So how are y'all focused on closing that gap of young gals coming into CCA?
We do a few special things for the girls,
Okay.
and unfortunately, kind of in this time, you can't even really say that, you got
Right.
to say,
Right.
well, okay, sure, of course, boys are invited, and we have an all
Yep.
girls build, and of course, boys are invited. Anyway, and we're real careful when we go to recruit, and presenting in our slides, of course, and we do those things, but. I think the biggest thing right now is the success stories of now that our first graduating class was in 2013, which means that a lot of our girls that went off to college are now, working
Yeah.
in the field. And I'd have to say more of our girls have gone the college route than the
Yep.
boys. But my gosh, I talked about that one boy who got promoted as the youngest crew foreman for Morton Metal Buildings. We also have a girl that's at Skanska that was promoted as their youngest lead project manager in their
Wow.
history. And Kate Goss, she'll be amazing. Um,
Yes.
so, you have to, we have those success stories now, and we put them out on social media and things like that. And, you have to go into construction with a little bit of a tough skin, because you just do, which going from construction into education, the tough skin did not serve me well.
I was just gonna ask you that.
No, and I still struggle with that, because you got to have a little more, touchy feely in education than you do in construction, and that's not really up my alley. But so I struggle with that a little bit. But and you gotta have a little bit of a tough skin. So um, I think the biggest thing, and having the companies that will hire our girls, I mean, they'd be crazy not to, really,
Yep.
I
Agreed.
mean, because they're amazing. And the other thing is, I try to tell the girls, one thing we don't teach, Jesse, is we don't teach sales,
Ah.
and I feel like, and I try to let the especially the girls know, we had a girl that was an
Mm.
incredible plumbing, and she wanted nothing to do with plumbing,
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I said, do you realize the kind of money you could make if you went into sales,
Right.
something like that,
Yep.
And so the point being, there's things other than, even if you have the background experience that kids gain within our program in 4 years, even if you went on you want to be an accountant, imagine, going to work for a construction company, having that background. At least you kind of
Yes.
have an idea of what you're working with and what the numbers
Yes.
relate to and things. So I try to let kids know too that there's other things besides, all the real grunt work, at least you can
Yes.
get in there and do some other things. Um, so yeah, it's still a struggle. I'm not sure girls will ever, and I don't think they have to.
Right.
I'm of the belief that girls are built differently than boys, in
Okay.
different ways, and their minds are different, and their bodies are different, and the physical limitations are different. That's just to me, that's what it is. So, will we get to where construction is, 50% women? No. But I really hope that the girls who want to break the barrier are able to break the barrier and do what they
Yes.
want to do. That's the best I think we can hope for, which is great because what I have seen is that is being allowed, or being invited. Girls are being invited in.
Yes.
I hope none of them have a bad experience because of some jerks.
Yep.
But you got to be ready for it. You got to have that tough skin, and sometimes you end up getting potty mouth, and you talk like a sailor, which again doesn't serve you well, and other
Yep. Yep.
when you're trying to, be ladylike and or whatever. But whatever.
Yeah, I know. I got a little bit of the potty mouth myself. A little bit, a lot of it. Um,
Okay.
yeah, no, I think the core of what I heard you say is that the option has to be there, and helping them become aware of the option is important, right? It's largely lacking. I mean, you talked about earlier growing up when you were talking about, you didn't even know construction was a thing. And too many people don't know that, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we have education, we've got healthcare, we've got financial services, we got all of these industries that do not function without the construction of their facilities. They do not function without the maintenance of their facilities. And the men and women that do that work, that manage that work, that sell that work
Hmm.
are not. I don't know if you remember Diana Huang. We interviewed her very early on when we started, and she's a talent acquisitionist. She's a recruiter, headhunter. She's amazing. She's awesome, super talented. And even her friends were like, "You're working for a construction company?" It was like she's doing the job, and she's
Yeah.
amazing, and with phenomenal companies. But because it was a construction company, it's like less than all of a sudden. So
Yeah, it's dirty or something,
yeah, yeah. And she doesn't have a potty mouth. Like, come on, give her a
Oh,
break.
good for her.
But she was never out there in the field with the rest of us. What's the word? I've been classified as feral.
Oh, yeah, nice.
With the rest of those feral people out there, the rest of us. Um, so again, and then like that's the whole point of this podcast, is to enhance the image of careers in the trades. And I know you've given us some feedback on some of the earlier episodes. How do you think we're doing so far, Krista?
Um, Jesse, I haven't been back since the early episodes, so I'll just tell you I need to get back and listen. But I did hear, I think there was it a female electrician
Yes.
early on? Yeah, so I know you're running the gamut, and I gave you I don't know if you ever got hold of the female roofers. There's a
Oh,
female roofing company out in New Braunfels. But no,
yes, I remember that.
yeah, no, I think it's cool what you do because, like you said, it's this is the fight I think we have with some of the parents. Some of the parents, well, I don't want my kid going to a construction school. It's like, oh my gosh, you know what
You
I
have
mean?
no
Change. We,
idea.
we gotta we gotta fix that. And on the other hand, we've never had an adult come in our building that has left disappointed.
Right.
So like you, I mean, you're trying to raise the awareness of, man, what incredible opportunities that are out there. So you're doing that from the podcast point of view, and we do that from trying to bring people in the building, and try to change that perception. Because one, if we don't, and I think about this too, like from a mechanic's point of view, who is going to fix my car in 20 years,
Yes.
10 years? Who's going to be
Yes.
out there building something? Or who's going to
Yes.
fix your AC? When we started CCA back in 2009, we were told, and our big line was that, the average age of an AC, I'll say guy, because a lot of them are, but the average age was like, 68 or something like that, which
Yep.
means now they're like 80. So, we gotta bring in young talent. Geez, you have to. And I
Yes.
mean, what, and that's why I tell my kids too, what does that mean for you right now? If you're in demand, let's go back to
Mhm.
economics 101. If there's a huge demand, what do you think that means for you?
Yes.
And they finally get around to the more money.
Yeah.
Um, Man, what an opportunity to work right now. Crazy.
Tremendous. Tremendous
Tremendous.
opportunity. I thought it was big when I made my decision. Now I'm like, son of a gun, this
Oh
is
man,
great.
sometimes I'm thinking I need to be a plumber, Man,
Come
imagine what
on.
I could make. I know, right?
Yep, yep. No, 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 don't come on. We need you. We really need the amazing work that you're doing over there with those students.
I
'Cause
can only be one plumber, but we're creating a lot of plumbers on the program,
yes,
so I guess
yes,
that's a good thing. So
yes.
yeah, you saw that. And speaking of the girls, did you see the whole social media blow up about the girl during the pandemic, the girl plumber we have?
Yes, I was trying to secure an interview with her. That thing went
you and you
wild.
and everybody else. Oh my gosh,
Yes.
that was amazing. That was such a great story because she has three younger brothers that are all special needs, and they
Uh,
could not live in that house. And
yeah.
her mom takes pictures of her belly crawling underneath that house and fixing that pipe, and then
Yes.
they could
Yes.
all stay there. That was
Yes.
great.
It was beautiful.
That was a great
She's in the
story.
program, learned a skill, and
Uh-huh.
actually applied it to maintain their a quality of life.
Right.
Like that's what y'all do out there. And man, I saw those pictures like, oh my God, how do I get a hold of her? I mean,
Yeah.
I went Facebook and everywhere I could to try and make a straight line to them. And then hell, a day later, it was on the news and it was
Yeah, it
on every
was.
damn social media outlet. Like, son of a, this is beautiful.
Yeah,
Oh,
it hit Fox News in New York. It hit the big Fox News too. They
yeah.
even Zoom interviewed her. But that's part of my recruiting spiel too. Is that okay? You may never be in a construction career, but imagine the life skills that you're going to get.
Exactly.
And I mean,
Exactly.
do you ever want to own your own home? I mean, imagine improving the value of your home without having to hire a plumber. Because Jesse, how much does it cost if a plumber comes to your door?
Oh,
I don't
it
know,
ain't cheap.
a lot.
A lot.
Everybody,
Let's just say a lot.
right.
More than pizza. Oh my goodness. Okay, so now we're going to jump into the hard question, Miss Krista.
Okay.
The title of our podcast is Learnings and Missteps. The
Okay.
reason it's that title is because I think we all evolved and get to the point that we're at in our life and in our careers as a series of learnings and missteps. And so thinking back, or maybe it doesn't have to be way back, whenever, what is like a significant learning that you've had as a result of a major misstep that you made?
Unfortunately, that was a very easy one to answer.
Okay, good.
Because I feel like, and I was probably in my late teens or early 20s, and
Yep, just like I promised. I cut this piece out because this is the fans only L&M backstage pass material. Again, hit us up on patreon.com/learnings and missteps. There's multiple ways for you to subscribe and you don't have to. You can continue listening. You can share with your friend. You can leave us a comment. You can leave us a review. You can do all of the above and I'll send you some virtual hugs. Love you guys, and here we go with the rest of the show.
Okay, well, we're running up on time. So,
all right.
final question. Um, what footprint do you want to leave on the world, Miss Krista?
Jesse, that's such a huge question. It's like, man, I'm not like Mother Teresa, you know what I mean? I'm like a drop in the bucket, you
Sure.
know? Um, but I think at this point in the position I'm in, would have to go back to, especially with the girls in construction, very specifically, is, just being that role model. And again, even if it's not construction they pick, I hope that they can be confident. I also do a girls, like I said, we do some special girls projects on the campus, and one of them is a mentoring group, and I don't know if you've heard of NABO, Women, National Association of Women Business Owners.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
NABO. So we do that every year, and unfortunately, I can only have 10 girls in the program.
Hmm.
But right now, a couple of the girls who have signed up really need the boost of confidence. You can just
Mm,
tell. And hopefully if you can change just a couple of those girls around and help them with that confidence, I mean, that's a big thing. And it might only be a couple kids, might only be a couple people in the world. But I hope I can be a good example. Unfortunately, I think I need to work on my touchy-feely skills, that would help me to help bridge the gap here. But I really care about seeing these girls successful, and
yes.
so I think in the end, that's where I'm at. That's why I'm here doing what I do, and that's why I'm in education and uh, helping to develop these girls with confidence and know that they can, like I said, that you can compete with men. It's it's
Absolutely.
it's okay. You can do it, and I think that's what I got on
That's kind of big. That's not a drop. That's immense.
that.
It's a big one. So what would you, in that line of thinking, um, what's one thing that you would tell all the men out there or boys, whichever it is, what do they need to do to contribute to your effort?
Oh wow. In my program at least, I think when the girls are given a chance, they see it.
Okay.
They see that they're being outdone. We've
Hmm.
got a lot of the girls that are our go-to people. You always have those students every year that are kind of your go-to, and a lot of times are the girls. So I guess in that same angle, I hope that the boys in our program experience it, that these girls are there
Mm.
and I'm not going to say equal, but I mean they're there to compete.
Yes.
They might be better, they might be worse for different reasons. I mean that they
Yes.
might the girl might get a job not because of her physical strength, but because she's got it going on. She knows what
Yes.
the task is all about and can get it done. So again, I hope as examples in our program, and I think they do. I think the boys see, because honest to God, everybody is equal in our program.
Yes.
We don't have the girls doing the painting and the boys doing the cutting. I mean,
Right.
everybody does everything, and that's just how our instructors are.
Yes.
Everybody gets the same chance, and so maybe it's a by example again.
Okay.
Unfortunately, that's not global. To tell the boys, hey, look, these girls can do what you do. But at least in our own little world here, the boys are seeing that these girls are sometimes performing to the same level and even outperforming.
Yes.
And I think they have a lot of respect for our girls on the campus.
Yes.
So
They
um,
are here to compete.
they are. Oh my God, our girls are amazing. Our girls are
Yes.
amazing. I'm jealous. I am. They're the one girl that went to Skanska was in charge of the brand new Delta airline hangar out in LAX.
Mm.
I mean, at like 22 years old. Our
Yes.
kids are buying houses now.
Yes.
I thought I was doing good at building my own house at 27, but we just had a boy who just went to work for TDI, and I said, well, I had him send me a picture. I'm going to flood social media next week with all of our graduates that I can find that will send me a picture of them at their job right
Oh
now.
my God. Yes.
And so I've been reaching out to as many as I can find. Send me a picture. What year you graduated CCA? What you're doing now? Send me a picture of you in action. Right. I'm really
Yes.
looking forward to next week and posting those. But one boy was at TDI. He started out at Quarter Moon. He went to TDI, and he sent me a picture, and I said, "Golly, you look really happy." And he texts back. He's like, "Miss, I am happy. I just bought my first house." I'm like,
Wow.
geez, man, you're 19 years old.
Oh
Yeah.
my
And he
gosh.
was so excited, you know.
Yes.
Geez, and I was glad to hear he bought a house instead of a $70,000 truck.
Exactly.
So,
That is a wise decision for a young knight because I would have went and bought me a car.
right, right. And I'm
But
sure they do that too. But
yeah, yeah.
um, yeah, no, I think the boys are seeing, at least in our program, that the gender gap is not very wide. at all.
Agreed.
You know what I
I
mean?
think that, so two things. One, on the social media post, is this going to be on your personal account or is there a
No,
CCA
it's
account?
on the CCA account. So we have an Instagram account. I
Okay.
think I'm going to do most of it on Instagram, which is at NISDCCA.
Okay.
That's the Instagram account. We're also doing the school bus conversion. So we have a CCA underscore schoolie. So,
Okay.
but that's just for funsies. And then Twitter, I believe, is the same at NISDCCA. And then Facebook is Construction Careers Academy Parent Partnership.
That's a big one.
I think you can put in at CCA Parents, and I think it gets you there.
Okay.
But yeah, so he sent me the picture, and he was up on a man lift doing connecting some iron pipe, and I mean, he just looked happy, and he's like,
Yeah.
"Bought a house."
Awesome. Awesome. That's amazing. And so to your point about the women, the ladies are here to compete. And we're in the process of getting the Texas Construction Careers Initiative
Mm-hmm.
big build competition live, the whole thing that we do out at the Freeman Coliseum with all the
Right.
employers and all the school districts. When I knew that, damn it, we need to go and get these kids to come work for us, we need to do this. It was a result of being at a booth to interact with high school students and seeing the competition. They were physically building a space, a cubicle or a quad.
Right. Bathroom. It was a bathroom.
Yep, there's a bathroom. Doing the sheetrock, the framing, the
Plumbing.
the plumbing, electrical, the whole thing.
In 4 hours.
In 4 hours, and the judging was pretty damn stringent. And CCA had a group of all ladies.
Yep.
All 4 girls, and they were I mean, it was.
They smoked it.
They smoked it. They killed it. And I got to see them, and I got to see a bunch of other schools, like 8 other schools that were competing in the program.
Right. It was
just like
8 teams.
Yeah. So I'm like, you could tell there were different degrees of knowledge base, but I'm seeing them work safely. I'm seeing them communicate. I'm seeing them plan their work and work in a team. Like, holy hell, that's what we need. Like,
we had our girls team in those 18, and not only were they the only girls team, they mostly are the only girls in that whole competition.
Yep.
Take second place. We usually lose to we've lost to Reagan. I remember the Reagan coach saying to me, how long have your girls been practicing together? And I'm like, our girls don't practice together because they're all in different strands.
Right.
And his team of boys have the same class together. And so I mean, our girls hadn't really come together to practice together. They just all knew their own part, and we had like one team practice or something. But you're right, they were unbelievable. They worked together, and second place. I mean, it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's good. So we got to bring that back. And our listeners out there, make your way to San Antonio. Come and see the talent that is just waiting to come and transform the industry, particularly the ladies. Got to give them a shot.
Well, and you're right. We're pretty transparent. We show people the program.
Yes.
We don't mind if you copy us, because it's to the better of the kids in the industry and all that.
100%.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Miss Krista, I appreciate your time this morning. Did you have fun?
That was a great. You're just so easy. You're so easy to talk to.
Thank you.
You make it easy.
Oh man.
So no, I always enjoy visiting with you, Jesse. So whenever you're back in town, anytime.
Yes. And I'm ready whenever I can come speak to the kids, speak to the parents, speak to your staff. I'm down. I'd love to do it.
Sounds good.
All right, then. We'll talk again, Krista.
All right. Very good, Jesse.
Bye-bye.
Well, there you go. We just had, 80 minutes or so of Miss Krista Ackles, her wisdom, her takeaways, and her contribution to our industry, to our community, and to the world at large. Appreciate y'all hanging with us. I know these episodes are long, and my intent is to share some meaning, some positive attitude, a new perspective, and maybe motivate you or a loved one to take a chance and get out there into this construction industry, because it's an amazing place to be. There are amazing discoveries to be had. And of course, we want to give a shout out to Miss Ariana Rivera, who reached out and gave me the opportunity to speak with her crew with the AGC CSU Chico people. Thank y'all for the time that y'all shared with me. Thank you for giving me y'all's time. Enjoyed it. It was some pretty decent dialogue, even though we were virtual. It was a big, gigantic group. And I want to shout her out and recognize her because of the behaviors that she's displaying. She reached out to damn near a complete stranger to see if that person would interact and serve the people that she serves. That's a phenomenal action, y'all. And one, I want y'all to know, please, I'd love to interact with your groups, career fairs, all of the above, or just talk, because if you don't know already, I enjoy talking. But this young professional, she didn't skip a beat, man. She just made it happen. So the rest of y'all, make it happen, baby. Peace out.
Man, you are one dedicated listener, sticking with us all the way through to the very, very end. Please know that this podcast dies without you, and we invite you to share how the episode's impacting you, along with your thoughts, questions, and suggestions. You've been gracious with your time, so we added social media links in the show notes to make it super easy for you to connect with us. Be kind to yourself, stay cool, and we'll talk at you next time.